scattered dream that's like a far-off memory. A far-off memory that's like a scattered dream.
Ironically, the opening narration from the start of the first game about not knowing whether reality was real or not would be far more fitting for the start of this game with someone trapped in a fake reality. I suppose it's time to harvest a bountiful crop of dislikes by sinning Kingdom Hearts 2. Already, I can hear the sounds of children being let out into the real world where they're not given enough juice boxes and hugs. Honestly, all of you watching this should be thankful that I'm doing this. Since my native language is depression, I'm the only one qualified to counter the amount of satire and cringe we're about to experience. And for those of you who are upset over this, you can rest easy knowing my opinion wouldn't carry weight if it was tied to cinder blocks. Since this intro serves as a recap, it does an incredibly poor job of explaining what Chain of Memories was about. And even if you did play the side game, Kingdom Hearts 2 is such a Winchester's mansion of plot direction that it adds another side game on every time it creates enough plot holes. So not only are you expected to have played Chain of Memories, they also made a game called 358/2 that further attempts to explain what's going on. Meet Roxas. Every fan fiction writers do not steal the original character who comes out of nowhere, is very important to the plot and other main characters, and everyone loves and supports him. The first chapter of the game is focused on restoring Sora's memories which were erased back in Chain of Memories. So of course Sora's memories start right at the beginning of the first game as opposed to his early childhood. Kid is going to wake up and remember only a few days of his entire life with the rest being a blank.
This world has been connected.
Ansem's new voice actor sounds like someone who narrates IGN video reviews. Roxas is living in a simulation of Twilight Town, and his memories of his old life were erased when he was placed here. But not once does Roxas question why he has a home, but no parents or anything but a group of friends.
Oh no! They're gone! Are gone!
All are gone?
We literally can no longer give fucks. Nobodies have been going around town stealing things, and when a nobody steals something, like Pince's photos, the word itself can't even be said. Never mind how this is even possible since it's never explained. How has Cypher been going around town claiming Roxas and the others are the thieves if he can't even say what it is they stole? I have to wonder how Cypher came by his scar in this universe. He and Squall scarred each other while sparring in Final Fantasy VIII, but in this universe, Squall is an adult and the two have never met. Cypher loses any badass cards he might have had by wearing a shirt that shows his midriff. Roxas can use the Keyblade because he is Sora's nobody, a being created after a person loses their heart. Want to know who else is a nobody created from a Keyblade user? Xemnas, the leader of Organization 13. Yet he can't use a Keyblade.
Wouldn't it be weird if the thief wanted to steal the real Roxas or something?
Come on, get serious. Why would anyone want to steal a bonehead like Roxas?
Clearly this is a world that has never known child predators, since someone stealing photos of Roxas is of little concern.
Organization miscreants. They found us.
I'm going to take a sin off for Christopher Lee not only appearing in this game, but for putting in an actual performance despite this weeb shit he was given.
Why would the nobody steal photographs?
Both are nothing but data to them.
Isn't everything inside the simulation data though? Are you not more surprised that nobodies are somehow appearing in your virtual simulation? I mean, we learned later that you were terrible at choosing passwords, but this should be a cause for concern. With how much Diz despises Organization 13, I'm surprised he's not triggered every time he sees his associate who wears the exact same uniform.
But the boy is a problem. He found one of the keyholes.
I get that you are slowly restoring Sora's memories, but that last line from Jafar was said in private during a villain meeting and Sora never heard it.
We all go to the beach.
Hayner wants to go to the beach before summer vacation is over, but they don't have enough money. I just want to know how money became the standard currency in every world. These worlds were all separate until recently, but they all use the same currency. Let's do jobs to earn money for the trip, like delivering mail to birds, fighting bees, clearing garbage by smacking it, and entertaining a kid who wanted to see a ball kept in midair.
Remember when I fell? I had the money before that. I bet that guy took it. Guy?
Since Oled gave the pouch with all their money to Roxas, and none of them could see the hooded figure who bumped into him, all they observed was Roxas stumbling and suddenly their money pouch is gone. Wouldn't they suspect Roxas of trying to steal their money? Hey, I bet we could reuse this scene like 1,000,000 times going forward and it would never lose emotional impact. Kids casually sitting on a dangerous building ledge is the kind of scene I expect to see from a GIF out of Russia.
Is it really that hard to make a beach?
We'd be giving the enemy another entry point.
Ansem had to stop them from going to the beach because no beach exists in the simulation. If that's the case, why allow your NPCs to bring up the idea of going somewhere that doesn't exist within their programming? How do you bring objects from the digital Twilight Town into the real world? I mean, Ansem just brought the bag of money with him. You could crash the entire economy with this technology. This town is cheering for a grown man who competes against children in foam bat tournaments. Setzer isn't a bad choice for a classic Final Fantasy character, but I guess they couldn't get the guy who can suplex trains.
Who will take home the grand prize? The summa cum laude of struggle, the 4 crystal trophy!
If the trophy is a summa cum laude award, how come Setzer, the defending champion, holds a belt? The objective of a struggle match is to hit your opponent and collect the orbs they drop. The one with the most orbs wins, except Vivi defeats Cypher without collecting a single orb.
This town is his creation, right? Which means we don't have time for a Q&A. You're coming with me.
Axel is the only member of Organization 13 besides Roxas that gets any development. I guess you can take this as a case study when creating a rogues gallery. Don't make it 13 members large. Half of them were killed off in Chain of Memories, and Sora doesn't even get to remember them. Given the setting of a virtual environment and the fact that Quentin Flynn voices Axel, I have expected and wanted him to have a codex session about VR training with the Colonel.
Roxas! This man speaks nonsense.
I'm sure appearing in your fetish gear and telling him this will totally make Roxas side with you.
Let me win, and I'll make it worth your while.
How little must have you accomplished in your life that you are willing to go this far to win a children's game? Did you get all those scars on your face from children's competitions? When sitting on a ledge this high, don't toss things to your friends expecting them to catch it. More than likely, they either drop it or fall to their deaths. Don't stare into the sun, you idiots.
I've got a present too, for all of us.
And I had them lying on a hot summer roof the entire time. This is why you don't make building ledges your hangout spot.
And the other boy?
What other boy?
The one who was with Riku and me all the time. We played together on that island. His voice always used to be there, and now it's gone. I can't think of his face or his name.
When Naminé erased Sora's memories in the spin-off game, she also erased any memories of Sora and everyone who met or even knew of Sora, even Kairi. That's sad for her, but just imagine Sora's mom. Every day, she walks around her home wondering why she has a room full of a young boy's possessions, but can't remember ever having a son that's been missing for a year. Through the power of, hell, take your pick, love, friendship, heart, all of the above, this message in a bottle will travel across worlds and reach Sora at the end of the game.
But first, perhaps you could tell me your true name.
It's Ansem.
Diz has been working with this guy the entire time and hasn't once bothered asking him who he is. Actually, this sin is even more confusing than that. Diz began by working with Riku to revive Sora. But then one day, Riku came back several feet taller and with a different voice, and Diz wasn't at all curious about that until now. And Ansem's voice is one Diz should recognize very easily. And furthermore, Ansem is really Riku who gave into darkness in order to capture Roxas, and the Ansem from the first game was not the real Ansem, and Diz is actually the original Ansem. And Diz has no real reason to hide his face since no one here would know who he is. And Diz is also aware that this is Riku who looks like Ansem and is calling himself that but doesn't say anything about it. And Riku knows Diz knows that he's not Ansem but puts up the charade anyway. Are you beginning to understand why I waited 4 years to get around to sending this game? I suggest we build 13 chairs, all at least 15 feet high and at different heights, so some of us have to strain our necks to look at whoever is speaking.
Yesterday, I fell off the station tower, didn't I?
You wouldn't be here if you did.
Doesn't matter. In the past few days, you've had vocabulary stolen from you, a magical key appear in your hand, time is stopping, and you've fought friggin' monsters. Wondering if you actually fell off a roof or not is the least of your problems. I don't care how good the ice cream is. I'm already sick of having to watch these kids eat it. At 7 p.m., all 4 of us will synchronize our childhood bonding moments. You can't see your reflection in a waterfall. The 7 wonders of Twilight Town are glitches in the simulation. I'm starting to think Diz might be a Bethesda employee. The last mystery is the ghost train, which makes me wonder how it ever became a mystery if only Roxas can see it. Roxas's friends wait until he runs them all the way back to the station to tell him that they didn't see the train.
Let's go home and work on the paper.
The rumors were bogus. The end.
We can still make it sound good if we write about all the work we did.
They grow up so fast. I thought this game was only supposed to use Disney movies. This is clearly the room from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
And I had to take apart the memories chained together in Sora's heart.
Name-dropping Chain of Memories is close enough for a roll credits in my book.
You and Sora are connected. And in order for Sora to become completely whole again, he needs you.
Does he really? Sora seemed just fine after Kairi saved him from being heartless. Even though Roxas is Sora's nobody, he only seems to be needed for restoring Sora's memories because the game says he is. I hate this style of storytelling, where entire scenes happen all inside someone's head. Again? It's not that great of a scene.
Are the holes in your memory starting to fill in?
Yes. The haze is clearing.
The same thing is happening to everyone who had ties to Sora.
Since everyone lost their memories of Sora, how did Diz even know who Sora was to put together this plan to revive him? He should have been affected by Naminé's power as well. And Riku was obsessed with reviving someone he couldn't even remember. The entire point of sticking Roxas in the simulation was... I really don't know why this was needed. Diz probably could have kept him unconscious and still restored Sora's memories. But even if this was needed, is it really necessary to torture the kid right at the end of it?
Look at what it's come to. I've been given these icky orders to destroy you.
Evil organizations really need to stop ordering friends to kill each other. It always creates conflicting emotions and makes the situation worse. Instead of one rogue member, you end up with two.
Kingdom Hearts.
Roll credits.
You'll be whole.
I'll disappear?
No further outbursts.
Diz stops Naminé from telling Roxas what's about to happen to him, like he doesn't intend to tell him that same thing in just a few moments. Roxas can recall moments he was unconscious for, such as when Diz first put him inside the simulation.
If we can maintain the simulated town until Naminé finishes chaining together Sora's memories.
I don't think even Chain of Memories name-dropped itself this much.
Axel.
You really do remember me this time. I'm so flattered!
I guess you can count me in with the camp that thinks Axel is one of the better characters to come out of this series. Axel used to work with Roxas in Organization 13, so he knows very well that Roxas can use two Keyblades.
Let's meet again in the next life.
They really try their best to make you think Axel dies here, but then he's alive again in just a few scenes. I have to wonder how Diz came by all this very specific technology for placing people in stasis and creating digital worlds to live in. All of it was needed to awaken Sora and restore his memories, but Sora only fell asleep a year ago.
My apologies. This is only a data-based projection.
Isn't everything here a database projection?
I hate you so much.
You should share some of that hatred with Sora.
No! My heart belongs to me!
It's honestly amazing that Diz's plan for joining Sora and Roxas together actually worked. He did everything he could to make Roxas like his life as is. Then he straight up tormented him with all of this.
Looks like my summer vacation is over.
I should have mentioned this in my first Kingdom Hearts video, but Sora's clothes are completely impractical for using the restroom. It's a single piece with a jacket. He has to get naked every time he needs to go.
When do you think we went to sleep?
This is not the conversation you have when you wake up in a strange building you don't recognize and your body is suddenly too big for your clothes and you've hit puberty.
What does your journal say, Jiminy?
Gee, there's only one sentence. Thank Naminé.
Sweet. We can make a side story game around this one sentence. And so they did.
Hey, did you finish up the summer homework yet? Independent studies are the worst, huh?
Homework?
Sora may be a Keyblade wielder, but he is also a middle school dropout.
What are your names?
Oh, sorry. Where's Sora, Donald, and Goofy?
I stopped counting after a while, but every character in this game greets these three with their names in that same order every time. You'd think with 3 different names they could vary up the order. Twilight Town is populated with humans, yet no one finds Donald and Goofy to be out of place. Shouldn't Donald and Goofy have to make themselves look human when traveling in worlds like this?
Your Majesty!
Goofy and Donald spend an entire game looking for Mickey. Now when they finally see him, they let him run off without following.
We came to see you off.
You didn't even know he was leaving town.
Hey, Sora? You sure we haven't met before?
The kids Roxas played with were simulated versions of these 3 real kids, meaning these kids never met Roxas and would feel no connection to Sora just because Sora and Roxas are one and the same. Alright game, you earned that feel. What if someone else had boarded the space train while it was in the station?
All the worlds are gonna belong to yours truly. 'Cause Maleficent's gonna help me conquer them.
She's toast.
Huh?
Sorry, but Maleficent can't help you now.
What do you mean? You! So you're the ones that did it!
Did you know she was dead or not? You can't believe she's going to help you conquer all worlds while simultaneously knowing she isn't around anymore.
Who lives in this tower anyway?
Well, it's old Yen Sid.
Master Yen Sid lives here?
Donald and Goofy already know Yen Sid lives here. There's a scene in Birth by Sleep with them at this very tower with Yen Sid, and that game is a prequel. Why do you have a human skull on your desk?
This book contains valuable knowledge you will need for your journey.
It doesn't, but you have to read the middle of the book anyway.
How come the Heartless are still running around?
Your past endeavors did prevent an immense effusion of Heartless from the Great Darkness. The Heartless are fewer, But while darkness exists in a single heart, it will be difficult to eliminate them.
So basically, the Heartless are still around despite closing the door to darkness. I wasn't even going to question their continued existence until you tried to explain it. You see, sometimes it's better not to call attention to what doesn't make sense in your plot.
Through there, you'll find 3 good fairies. If you ask, they'll create for you appropriate garments.
Yen Sid is keeping hose in the back. How innocent games were back in 2005. What was a fun gag back then is now a business practice. These days, the loot box fairies would be charging you for a chance to win one of these color sets.
Because of your previous endeavors, the worlds have returned to their original states. That means the pathways between them have disappeared. The worlds have prepared new pathways along which you may travel. These pathways may be utilized by unlocking special gates.
The worlds were cut off and isolated, and we were led to understand that this is the way things were meant to be. So much so that when the worlds restored themselves, the barriers between them were restored as well. Why would the worlds create pathways now when they didn't do it before this whole mess began? I'd really like to know how Mickey and Yen Sid prepared for Sora's return when they wouldn't have been able to remember him until a day or so ago. If just remembering Maleficent is enough to bring her back to life, how come Pete discussing her with Sora, Donald, and Goofy did nothing? Or does it specifically have to be the 3 good fairies? Someone's been buying microtransactions. Yuffie is in her Advent Children costume.
A while back, everyone suddenly remembered you guys, all at the same time.
No one will ever question how weird that is.
It doesn't matter. This is great. Everyone's together again.
Mina Suvari is the actress from American Beauty. She received a BAFTA nomination for that, and this is the performance she turned in here.
So, Sora, do you know what's going on then?
Wasn't Leon supposed to be the guy in the know? Here he is asking a kid who's been asleep for a year what's going on.
Why don't I remind you how tough the crowd you're dealing with really is?
Remind me?
That's right! He used to give me that same exact look.
Sora knows that he once became a Heartless, and Yen Sid explained to him that when someone loses their heart, a nobody of that person is created. Meanwhile, Sora's been having emotional reactions and feelings of deja vu to people and places he's never met. And Organization 13 members are acting like they know him, yet Sora never puts 2 and 2 together, nor does someone like Yen Sid explain something he most certainly would have known. Man, Visa rewards have gotten out of hand. If Sora unlocks 10 more, he gets a free 6-inch sub. Also, how come the membership card didn't trigger the world gate when Yuffie handed it over to Sora? And why would a membership card that was freshly printed be the key to activating a world gate?
Do my eyes deceive me? Does he really have the power to wield the Keyblade?
You clearly already knew that Sora can wield the Keyblade. Not only was his nobody, who you worked with, able to wield them, your plan hinges on Sora using the Keyblade to destroy Heartless.
The hero of the Keyblade has embarked on a new adventure.
Hold on, the announcer from Soul Calibur would like to say something. The gummy ship went from being a section you dreaded to being merely passable, mainly because they ripped off Panzer Dragoon.
See that, Mulan? It's Shan Yu, leader of the Hun army.
If Shan Yu is already in China, why does he later cross the mountains to attack the Imperial City he was previously near? Also, China is on Earth, so this whole other worlds business still makes no sense when you think about it for even a minute. The joke here is that Mushu is in fact a very tiny dragon casting a big shadow. Mulan, however, is talking to Mushu's shadow instead of where he would actually be standing closer to the ground. Donald would be butchered here and served in a stir-fry.
Hey, Mushu! We missed you!
Yeah, well, you better hope I miss you, or else you're Sora, Donald, Goofy!
Mushu was nothing but a spirit Sora could summon to fight for him in the last game. They never had a single conversation, yet were expected to believe they became great friends. Also, this throws the Mulan timeline into nonsense land. Mushu was asleep before he was called to guide Mulan on her mission, which he is only just now beginning. Why would Mushu have been the only one to survive the destruction of this world in the first game when he was just a statue?
Would you join us? It'll be easier to fit in if I'm with guys like you.
Yes, surely these 3 can pass for Chinese men. Let's just unpack all these Rick and Morty Mulan McNugget sauce jokes I've been holding in and leave them here where they belong. I can allow a pale-faced child, a talking duck, and dog into the Emperor's army, but no women. That would just be silly. Shouldn't Sora be freezing? He is not dressed for mountain weather. Why would Shan Yu be waltzing into a cave in the hopes that some random soldier would follow him in and be trapped inside?
The enemy. Where did they go?
They went toward the summit.
Which makes no sense because Shan Yu's target is the Emperor, who is down the mountain. No explanation is given on why and how Shan Yu can control an army of Heartless. That was previously an ability that only Maleficent could give to someone.
You know, that's it. I give up. I can't take this no more. Come on, Mulan. Let's quit this charade and go home, girl.
Mushu.
What?
Mulan? A woman?
I make it a point to always take the ramblings of a dragon using modern Ebonics seriously.
You all knew, didn't you? You knew Ping was really a woman in disguise.
I mean, sure, I had no problem with talking animals in the army, but a woman? You sicken me.
Shan Yu is alive. He's headed this way.
And why should I believe you this time?
Because she only lied about her gender, not about Shan Yu.
If you wish to win the heart of Fa Mulan, China's bravest woman, you'll have to be a bit more eloquent than that.
I guess someone has to ship it, since this game didn't spend nearly enough time developing Mulan and Shang's relationship. Any object that has any relevance to the film it appears in ends up being the key to the World Gate. The Enchantress must have extended Beast's time limit, because he has been keeping Belle locked up in this castle for over a year since we last saw him, and the last rose petal hasn't fallen.
Do you think he maybe forgot who we are?
Yes, everyone forgot who you are. The dresser is very excited to hear that Belle sent Sora to the dungeon to rescue the staff Beast locked up. It certainly didn't help that the dresser was blocking the door that led to where her friends are incarcerated. To reach the secret entrance of the dungeon, you have to light enchanted lanterns by pouring tea on them, instead of carrying the teapot by her handle. Sora has to wait while she slowly follows him to each lantern.
It's time you dealt with Belle. She's scheming to take everything you have.
After what the Enchantress did to him, Beast should have a hard time trusting the words of another mysterious person, but allow himself to be manipulated he does.
Who was that guy you were talking to? The one in black?
Zaldin.
All of the Organization 13 members have names that sound like something you should ask your doctor about if it's right for you. And if any of them give you a boner, 4 hours or otherwise, you should definitely call 911.
Zaldin.
Farewell.
Teleportation is always used to be a dick cliché. Beast's rose is also the World Gate key, and Beast is pretty paranoid over that thing, so Sora zapping with magic should not go over well with him. And again, the World Gate key doesn't bother to activate until it senses a conflict has been resolved, because Sora stood right next to the rose 2 times already, and he is on a different floor from it when it does activate. What is Merlin even doing in Hollow Bastion? After the end of the first game, everyone was pulled back to their own world, so Merlin should be home in Camelot.
Well, I happened to stumble across this in the Zero District.
You stumbled across your own book that you would have brought with you from Traverse Town? What do you think are in the other pages of this book? The entire world rests in the center bind. 100 Acre Wood has crashed. Please reinsert the disc and try again. The devs are so devoted to resetting everything from the first game, they even have the Heartless steal all the pages from the book and they have to be tracked down again. Summons in the last game were the spirits of strong-hearted people who weren't lost to the darkness when their world was destroyed, but all the worlds were restored along with the people. So why would Chicken Little agree to come fight for Sora? Yes, Chicken Little. We're sorry. We thought that would be a thing.
Are you sure this is the Colosseum?
It's that way.
How do you get so lost you end up in the underworld? You've been here before.
Here's the deal I'm gonna offer you. I let you out of the slammer. No strings. You'll be free as a bird. And all for one little job. Fight Hercules in the Colosseum to the death.
While Orin definitely has more clout than Cloud and makes more sense since he's already dead, I don't see how this plan is any different from the one Hades came up with the last time. He's just having a different Final Fantasy character try to kill Hercules in the Colosseum.
This is my story, and you're not part of it.
Okay, yeah, that line from Orin gets a sin removed. But then I'm putting it right back because the devs felt Orin's giant jug of booze he carries on his hip was crossing the line and took it away.
They came to see me. They came to see a hero. I can't let them down.
What heroic deeds are you performing by fighting in an anachronistic bloodsport arena? People are paying to see this. Just listen to that crowd that is nowhere to be seen.
Let me see if I've got this right. That brat's keyblade works on any lock.
That's right.
How do you not already know this? You were part of Maleficent's plan.
Have I ever told you about the killer Colosseum we have right here in the underworld? It makes the one upstairs look like an Olympic kiddie pool.
Then that's the place we're gonna put an end to Herc the Jerk's winning streak.
What does the location matter? You are currently sending monsters to Herc's Colosseum to force him to fight endlessly, and it seems to be working. Hades' entire plan falls apart if the people will just stop coming to the very dangerous Colosseum where they will be killed by monsters if Hercules doesn't fight. I mean, the only reason Hades can even do this is because Phil and Hercules keep the games running.
You can't leave now. Okay, you've got a very important match today against, the bloodthirsty Hydra! I mean, if you don't stick around, who knows what kind of accidents might happen.
Look at all those people in danger if Hercules doesn't fight the Hydra. You cannot get away with a crowd applause when everyone can see there is no crowd. Dimmick steals the Olympus Stone, which Sora needs to undo the curse of the underworld. However, they have no problem discussing the Olympus Stone. I thought that when nobody steals something, no one can say the name of what was stolen. Hades somehow got into the Underdome with Meg before Sora, even though the whole point of using Meg was to trick Sora into unsealing the place.
It's not your fault.
I left everyone unprotected.
All that's happened is that the Hydra destroyed the Colosseum. No one was hurt because no one was even here.
There won't be any games for a while anyway.
There's an idea. Why didn't you think of that earlier? You've been holding the Olympus Stone ever since you took it back from Dimmick's, and it only now reveals the World Gate? How many times do I have to send this gate crap?
Oh, King Mickey, I wish you could hear me. The castle is in danger. We've got to do something soon.
How does this government function if King Mickey is always gone?
What are Heartless doing in your castle? Oh my, so those are the Heartless.
Is there no one here to defend Disney Castle in case of an attack? I mean, Mickey is aware that some very dangerous stuff is going down.
Our castle has always been safe from worlds that are evil. Thanks to the Cornerstone of Light, which we keep down there.
You would think something called the Cornerstone of Light would be fairly important, but it's just a magic ball that somehow protects the castle. No explanation on what it is or where it came from is given.
I'm here on a property venture. I want this castle for my own.
Seriously, that's actually Maleficent's goal in this game. She wants a castle. She went from wanting to open the door to darkness to real estate.
You're heading into a very special world. While you're there, the nature of that world may tempt you to do something dark. You must resist that temptation at all costs.
What do you mean?
You'll know soon enough.
Just tell Sora not to change the past. Hell, just tell him he's traveling into the past. There's no reason to be obtuse when the timeline is at stake. Besides, there's not really much Sora could change in the past here that would benefit him other than maybe killing Pete. Donald is the one that transforms the group when they travel to new worlds. Except here, he had no idea where they would end up and what they would need to look like. But all three of them are transformed into Steamboat Mickey versions of themselves. Still, the Steamboat Mickey level is so goddamn creative I'm taking up a sin, even though I'm not really sure why going back in time would make the world lose color and make all the audio super compressed.
Seen any bad guys around here?
Goofy and Donald are from this time as well. You don't recognize past Pete as someone different from present Pete. Doesn't this level mean that Pete and Mickey are well over 100 years old in this universe? How does this make any sense? There are 4 floating windows that each lead to a different area where Mickey needs help, and inside those areas are windows that show Pete's point of view back in the present before he traveled into the past. Who created this system? Since Sora has gone back in time and met Mickey, wouldn't that mean Mickey remembers Sora from this time and would mention it?
Oh, I miss those good old days. What I wouldn't give to go back in time.
This started because a time travel door just opened up for Pete for no reason other than he wished for it after being berated by Maleficent. There is zero explanation for why this happened. I wouldn't put it past this series to offer up details several side games later. Disney Castle was only just beginning construction at this time. How the hell did Mickey go from being a deckhand on Pete's steamboat to king? Unlike Sora, Donald, and Goofy, Pete is not transformed to look like he belongs in this timeline.
I finally found the pipsqueak what stole my steamboat.
You just saw the modern Pete running around. How can you confuse the two? Going back in time and punching yourself while stealing your own property has to give you an existential crisis.
Donald, you forgot about our date again. You'd better have a good excuse this time.
Donald was asleep for over a year and hasn't contacted you after awakening, so your date was a year ago, and you're still upset because he was out saving the multiverse? So there is dry land in Atlantica, even though Donald said there was nothing but ocean in the last game. And if there was dry land to walk around, why did Sora and gang feel the need to start their search of this world under the sea last time? There are oceans in other worlds they travel to, but in those they stay on dry land.
What would I pay to stay here beside you?
Ariel must have a sleeping fetish, because she's crazy over Eric based on nothing but his face. Learn the swimming mechanics again, even though you will only swim in this one room. I honestly shouldn't send this since it is an improvement over the previous adventure here.
Swim this way, we'll dance and we'll play. Now it's very easy, come on and just take a chance and shake a thing. Let the music move you, you can do it!
This time around, Atlantica is a rhythm music game with some of the worst songs ever written. I can only hope this stuff sounded better in Japanese, because I recommend getting a stick to bite down on to avoid gnawing off your tongue.
What about the bubbles?
Just a touch, cause it won't take too much to pop, pop, pop.
This sounds like a soap commercial. God, I could go for some Tide Pods right now. Especially if they kill me.
Don't dilly-dally, it's your big finale. Sha-la-la.
And God was dead.
Swim along.
on, just join in the song. A musical for everyone to have a lot of finny fun.
That's not the song I would sing if trying to attract the opposite sex. You need magnet magic to move a rock off a statue? How is magnetism going to affect either of those two things? So they've abandoned any thought of that whole blending in rule. No one in Port Royal even bats an eye at Pete, Donald, or Goofy.
They got a kind of magic that don't belong in this world, see? And nobody knows what it'll do to you. Especially when the moon's showing what you really are.
Why would the pirates standing in the moonlight make them vulnerable to Sora's Keyblade, but invincible when not? All the moon does is reveal them for the cursed men that they are. The Black Pearl pirates are immortal regardless if they are in moonlight or not. So Sora's straight up killing people now, right?
Captain Jack Sparrow, if you please.
This game's Captain Jack Sparrow sounds like he's channeling the more tired and less interested Jack from the recent movies.
A pirate?
Sora is really into pirates. I don't recall him being that impressed with them back on Captain Hook's ship. For whatever reason, the devs decided to reenact the dinner scene as best the PlayStation 2 was capable of. No other moment from any other Disney film gets this same level of treatment. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a T rating. Kinda makes you wonder why they replaced all the pirates' rifles with weird crossbow rifles if they were going to keep the blood in. Maybe she has a strong magnet in her dress and that's why Will's gold medallion flew out of the chest for no reason. No, wait, gold isn't magnetic. I guess it's just stupid then.
Go ahead, boy, shoot. We can't die.
You can't. But I can.
But in this rated T game, I can't really put the gun to my head to back that threat up. Instead of killing them, Barbossa ties them up below deck without disarming them and plants explosives on the ship that I'm gonna say take about 7 minutes to go off.
Not probably. We're alive and we're pirates.
No, Jack's a pirate, and maybe Will. You are a magician.
Huh? Jack!
If the movie you were basing this world on was capable of showing Jack being stabbed, I think this game could have done it as well. Since Sora can destroy cursed pirates when they are standing in the moonlight, why was lifting the curse even necessary to stop Barbossa? With Sora here, he is an immortal. World Gate item doesn't activate until the conflict is resolved cliché. Yes, it's a cliché now. All the important information is still in the middle of the giant book cliché. The Doctor is using Lock, Shock, and Barrel for assistance despite the fact that they stole his artificial heart and gave it to Oogie Boogie last time. Then he gets upset when they screw up again. Like, what did you expect?
Are those strange-looking fellows in the town square with you?
You mean you forgot the things you wanted to make dance just a year ago?
And then we can go see Santa!
Sora, you're 15. And even though Santa Claus's existence is real in this world, you've met actual gods and royalty and never been this excited. Don't these doors to other holiday towns mean this world has multiple worlds within it? Why does Halloween Town get first billing and not 4th of July Town or St. Patrick's Town? I want to go to St. Patrick's Town, man. As much as I ragged on the first game over how poorly thought out the Sora travels from world to world looking for his friends plot was, at least it gave you direction, and Sora is doing that again in this game. But it really feels as if he's traveling around, meeting old friends and making new ones without even trying to accomplish his own goal. Once again, the gang is transformed into something appropriate when Donald has no idea what they would need to look like upon arriving. And this is Christmas Town. Do they really need to blend in for Santa's benefit? He's going to know. Donald coined the idea for Olaf a decade before Frozen.
Your name?
Sora, sir.
Let's see. Sora. Here you are.
How does Santa even work in this universe? Sora, Donald, and Goofy are all on his list. So he's the Santa that delivers gifts in other worlds. But as we've seen, the seasons are not uniform across those worlds. For instance, it's not Christmas in any other world Sora travels to in this game, and travel between worlds was impossible until recently.
I was so looking forward to destroying that ridiculous Christmas town.
Why? What does destroying Christmas Town do for you? I thought you were looking for a new castle.
I believe I'll bring your master back for you.
Death is beginning to have little meaning in this universe.
Confounded, and now I've lost my way.
The door leading to Halloween Town is down a straight path from your workshop. You can still see your building from the tree, and you've only walked a short distance down the path here in Halloween Town. The door back to Christmas Town is right behind you. And why are you even walking down the path to begin with?
There. The large one in red.
All I gotta do is kidnap him?
I'm not seeing any part of this plan that you couldn't have managed by yourself without needing Oogie Boogie. By God, this works. Oh God, Sora, it burns, why?
I believe there's a friend of yours who, if I recall correctly, was the one who told you there's no such thing as Santa Claus.
Here's the problem with this line in any story that confirms the existence of Santa. If people are getting presents on Christmas that their parents didn't buy for them, then no one would be questioning whether Santa was real or not, even Riku.
Do you know where I can find Riku?
No.
You're Santa Claus. Isn't it supposed to be your job of knowing where all the children are located? Does anyone care how Pluto manages to find a way into worlds he should not be able to get into? Pluto tries to follow Axel through his portal, but it closes behind him. Then Pluto turns around and right behind him is another portal that leads to the same exact place Axel is headed.
Maybe waiting isn't good enough.
Seemed to work out pretty well for you the last time.
I happen to be an acquaintance of Sora's. Why don't we go see him?
It must be so tempting when your would-be kidnapper acts this obvious.
We've got something in common, Kyrie. You and I both miss someone we care about.
Maybe I missed something, but I don't think this game ever explains what Axel hopes to accomplish by kidnapping Kyrie. I suppose he could be planning to try to bring Roxas back by forcing Sora to give up his heart again, but the game never explicitly says that. I won't follow you into that portal of darkness, but I'll follow this dog I don't know into another one. How was the Crystal King Trident destroyed in the last game set inside the keyhole lock? It was blown to pieces. There's another globe of Earth, and I can even make out the word America written on it. Your multiverse is a lie. A lie, I say.
Gosh, I wonder how Aladdin and Jasmine are doing.
Once you start digging through the plots and get to the direct-to-video Disney sequels, you would have been better off not including Agrabah again.
Hey, maybe Riku's with them.
I'm sure Jasmine is just fine hosting the guy who kidnapped her last time. How do you not realize that is Jafar's lamp? How was Jafar's lamp lost in the first place? We saw Sora capture Jafar in it in the first game, and that was it. Are you telling me that they just left it in the Cave of Wonders? Being locked up inside the lamp for months meant you never got acquainted with what it looks like from the outside. If Sora left Jafar's lamp inside the Cave of Wonders, and the peddler went to the Cave of Wonders and found it, how could he have missed the huge piles of treasure down there? Iago is really good at stealing lamps without the person holding it noticing. Iago, you're a bird. You can fly upwards and avoid the wall and escape the two chasing you. I feel that a regular, non-intelligent parrot would be more effective here. Oh yeah, there was an iconic and beloved character in this movie that basically sold the entire premise. Shame he barely appears in either of the two chapters set in Agrabah.
Al, you princely little muffin, you!
You cannot possibly mistake Pete for Aladdin. It's only been a year since you left. Also, Genie is supposed to have legs now that he's free from his lamp, not that little tail wisp thing. Also, Genie has been gone for a year traveling his world, but he left with Sora in the last game on Aladdin's behalf, and then Sora was put into stasis for a year. When exactly did Genie go his own way? Instead of something important like the lamp, this random jewel Abu stole from the Cave of Wonders is the keystone for the World Gate. No. No again. Is it really necessary for Donald and Goofy to transform in the Pride Lands? They are already animals. Hell, is it even necessary for Sora to transform into a lion cub? This is just the savannah after all. It's not like humans don't exist in this world.
Man, that Scar's got the worst timing. Just let him roar. We better go see what he wants.
And with that, the hyenas leave their potential prey they were seconds away from killing be. Scar doesn't even have them do anything as far as I can tell.
He took over when our last king, Mufasa, died.
Let me spoil a bit of your childhood by pointing out some of the facts of nature. Once a male lion takes over a pride, they generally mate with all the females. So Scar should have a bunch of lion cubs of his own by this point. And the romance between Nala and Simba is a lie. Since once Simba takes over the pride, he would have to mate with all the females. But first, he would viciously kill all of Scar's offspring. I've always wondered how the hyenas chasing away the game killed off all the vegetation in just a few years. Goofy's turtle form would have been a major annoyance when traveling over what is the largest map in the game. Thankfully, the devs gave him the ability to move like a hockey puck and save my brain the processing cycles of arguing why it makes no sense by offering no explanation for it in the first place. If this game is going to keep going with the idea that summons from the previous game had conversations and a personal connection to Sora, then it's going to have to explain why Simba never once mentioned his home or talked about himself, and Sora should have figured that a world full of lions might have some connection to his old friend. Not shown is how Goofy got across that gap.
Hakuna Matata!
Maybe don't teach that song to Sora. He has multiple worlds to save and serious stuff he needs to concern himself with.
Simba, you have forgotten who you are. You must take your place in the circle of life.
Well, we couldn't afford James Earl Jones because we blew our stack on Christopher Lee, but we did get our hands on his archive footage. It just occurred to me that The Lion King is probably where Tetsuya Nomura got all of his ideas for Final Fantasy XV. A lot of no's in The Lion King.
Anger and jealousy turned the King of Pride Rock into a Heartless.
I don't really have an issue with fighting the Heartless version of Scar. I'm just wondering why they are fighting him on a transparent rock with a huge skeleton buried under it. Also, I would like to know what happened to Scar's nobody, since Scar becoming a Heartless would have created one. I'm not even sure why a world gate in the Pride Lands exists. It doesn't open up any new worlds. As clever as this game can be with the use of its characters, they really miss an opportunity to have Cypher and Maleficent meet. Final Fantasy VIII players will know what I'm talking about.
Do you know a girl named Kairi? Kairi? I sure do. Then you better come to the station.
I mean, I could simply tell you that someone came and took her after she arrived, but I prefer a proper setting for bad news after I get your hopes up. What was the point of Riku sending Kairi to Twilight Town for her safekeeping if she was only safe for 5 minutes? Especially after Axel tracked down Roxas here. Riku could have sent her anywhere for safekeeping, including to Sora. Once again, synchronize your childhood bonding moment by staring into the sun. Perfect.
I passed on the message as you so desired. I told the young Sora to keep defeating the Heartless.
That message wasn't really necessary though. Like, what else was he going to do? Stop fighting the Heartless? Even once Sora learns why you want him to destroy Heartless, he doesn't stop.
I thought you looked kinda different, Cloud.
Yeah, you put some of those Advent Children miles on you.
If I do, it's his fault.
Whose?
Sephiroth. Tell me if you see him.
Was that so damn hard? At least you learned from the previous game.
I'm looking for somebody. Have any of you seen a guy with spiky hair?
You could just say you were looking for Cloud. That's what names are for.
I'll just take a look around.
By take a look around, she means punch a wall, then leave. I'm beginning to see why Cloud avoids Tifa. How weird is it that Tron isn't even the only computer simulation world in Kingdom Hearts 2? Like, did that happen by accident and they never noticed?
You'd better get out of here quickly.
Else we'll remain in a world with Journey music instead of Daft Punk.
If you idle here, you will be derezzed.
You mean back to 480p? But we've been re-released in 1080p glory.
So, how do we get out of here?
This terminal could have gotten you back to the user world.
There had to be a better prison cell than one with a terminal that could get users out of the system, even if the power to it has been cut. Since Ansem already had a fully functioning digital world in his Hollow Bastion room, it really makes me question why none of his digital world tech in Twilight Town resembles any of it. Even the scanner that uploads people to Twilight Town is different.
Excuse me?
Did you really think Cloud would be hiding behind the painting?
Hello? Bad. Security. Cloud.
Come on, Donald, sound it out. Use your words. How did you ever study to become a wizard if you read this slow? Getting your ears into that hood has to be a pain in the ass. And why even wear a cloak to hide yourself when the ears are a dead giveaway?
You see, we're looking for the secret password.
Well, the door to darkness can only be opened by the 7 princesses. There's Snow White, Jasmine, and Belle.
Of course.
With that password, we can get access to Ansem's research data.
Just because you know that the password is the names of the 7 princesses of Heart doesn't mean you know what order they need to be entered in, or if there are spaces or capitalization. And there's no reason Ansem had to use those names as the password to his computer just because they are needed in reality to open the door to darkness.
Why are you here?
We came to give you the password.
Why didn't you just transmit the data?
Sora is the world's youngest boomer.
What's this? An emergency destruct program for the town. Let's see how it performs.
1. Why would that even exist? And 2. Why would you use it, since blowing up Hollow Bastion would destroy this computer and you as well?
You have the ability to take illogical routes and still arrive at the answers you seek.
That statement pretty much sums up the entire Kingdom Hearts series.
You, my friends, are the new password.
Tron is just as bad as Ansem at creating passwords. Sora, Donald, and Goofy is even worse, because every person they've encountered has said their names in that exact order.
Hey, Sora, why don't you get started unloading the data and copying it down? It's just a few keystrokes.
Leon, unless there's a keyhole in that computer, Sora is pretty much helpless.
Riku and Kairi. No way.
Well, yeah, this computer hasn't been used by Ansem in some time, well before the 3 of you got involved.
All we got is a picture of some guy we don't know.
Ansem the Wise!
Look, this is Ansem. You know, the guy we all worked really hard to defeat.
The man in the picture is definitely the one who tried to take over Kingdom Hearts. The one you fellas defeated. But what you actually fought was his Heartless. You see, he wasn't really Ansem. He just went around telling everybody that he was.
This is where the series begins rewriting itself and needlessly confusing the narrative. It would have been simple enough to leave Ansem from the original game as the true Ansem, and for Diz to have another name. Instead, Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, was an imposter just using Ansem's name and was really his research assistant, which should make you wonder why Ansem kept a frame painting of his assistant in his office.
Don't tell me there's more. I'm lost enough as it is.
Sora would be perfect for sending his own game.
I know I've met this fake Ansem before, and I've seen the leader of Organization 13 too. Kinda felt like being around the same fella.
So, where did you meet this guy?
gosh. I can't remember.
Are you for real right now? You met the fake Ansem the same day you met the real one, but you can only recall meeting with Ansem the Wise and not the guy in the painting?
Let's look for Riku and Kairi together.
Mickey made a promise with Riku to never tell Sora what happened to him, so helping Sora find Riku would be breaking that promise. If you are already set on that, you might as well tell Sora the truth now.